This episode of the Boss Rush Podcast is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to support the Boss Rush Network and our family of podcasts, head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/bossrushnetwork. Thanks for your continued support.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Boss Rush Podcast here on Boss Rush Media. I'm your host, Eddie B, the exciting one. Joining me is the boss, Miss Mary.
Hey guys.
Of course, I got Bossman himself, Mr. Berger. Hello, good sir.
Hello, still here. Hello.
Yes, and we got the consumator himself, Miss Courty.
Yo. Hello.
Yes, everybody, we are live in the building here for PAX East. It is our last day together, but we have some great memories and experiences. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we experienced at PAX East 2024. Mary, what's up with you? What's one thing that excited you?
You're making me pick one thing. That's like picking a favorite child.
Just can't do
You really can't. It's just
You're not allowed to say out loud
Yeah.
that you have a favorite child.
Right.
I accidentally started something.
Secretly inside, you know which one it is.
Welcome to Boss Rush Podcast.
Oh,
Yep.
there's been so many amazing things, and I feel like I'm stealing Pat's thunder by saying, you know, one of the things that's been great is being able to see all of you guys in person, and we've interacted in meetings and on our Discord server and on the interwebs, but getting to come and see so many of you here has been awesome. Shout out to Steph and Pat, who are not in this segment, but also them as well.
They're working diligently to make everything look nice and work.
But let's see. Interview-wise, probably my favorite was Eloise Singer, who's the head of Singer Studios.
Yes.
I chatted with her at the end of day 2, and it was only about 20 minutes. She was bone dead tired. She'd just come off a panel about historical accuracy in games, and I sadly could not get into that with my schedule, but I actually got a little recap from her. It was a good time. And we just had a great time. We talked about like history and gaming and girls in gaming and her new project, The Pirate Queen, which is a VR game that they have put out, and it's actually been in like the top game in Meta VR for the last 2 months. And with her background in film, and that's something I'm passionate about, we're kind of all over the place for 20 minutes, but we had a great time talking. And that's one of my highlights. Another was a game with Ansharp Publishing. They were in the Games from Poland booth, but it was called Courty, and it's an ARPG, and you actually shapeshift. The players can shapeshift. So like as a human, you have like a bow and arrow and a few other abilities, but as like one of the monsters that you can take a form of, you get their abilities. So as I was like shifting between the two, and Corey's got some B-roll of me fumbling my way through this thing.
Yeah, that camera guy really needs to work on his stability.
Listen,
That was me, guys. I'm making fun of me. I would never make fun of anybody to their face except for Ed.
except for Ed. Ed has become the butt of most of the jokes in this D&D, guys. But that was a blast. I love a good RPG, and this one feels like it's going to be one of those longer ones that I'm going to sink far too many hours into, and y'all won't see me for 2 weeks. Sorry in advance.
That's fair.
That's later this year. Another one I did was Pioneers of Pangonia. It's one I've been eyeing for a while, and when I heard they were demoing it, I was like, I must go. And so I had booked a slot, got a time, got to play, and yeah, it was just as good as I was expecting it to be. They're still in early access, so there's more to come, and they even walked me through some of that. It's on our site. You can go look at it.
Nice.
And that was a lot of fun for me. So those are probably the highlights, is y'all talking with Eloise and those 2 games.
All right. Corey, what is a highlight or favorite of yours from
Me again?
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, I do have more. I saved some from the previous segment because I didn't want to take up too much time, even though I did. I took away too much time. But so the one thing I want to point out is Guardians Mental Health. I went to their booth twice. They were very nice. They were very kind and helpful, and they about a year. I've known about Guardian Mental Health because I'm in the Destiny community, and they are a very big part of the Destiny community. That's why it's called Guardians Mental Health, is because of Destiny, and they're a group of Destiny fans, but they're also like doctors and therapists and people of that nature, to help people within the Destiny community and now beyond the Destiny community, to find resources and to find help. And if you feel suicidal or something, like, they have the resources to help you climb your way out of dark holes. And after knowing about them for 8 or so years, last year, not to get too far into it, I was experiencing some things, and they became a bigger part of my, what do you want to call it, help. They became a bigger part of me helping myself. And so I went over to Joe from Guardians Mental Health, and just introduced myself. I just, we had been emailing back and forth off and on for like, I don't know, a year, and we were going to interview him, and then schedules conflicted, and then I just, life happens, things get busy. But I started emailing with him again a couple weeks ago because I saw that Guardians Mental Health was going to be there. I'm like, I'm not missing this chance this time. And so I just went over, introduced myself, and so he could put a name with the email or face with the email, and I just thanked him for everything that they do. And he was really nice, and we had a conversation, like a real almost therapy-like conversation, for 10 minutes. And today I went back, and he gave us a bunch of free stuff, like a mouse pad and a shaker cup for like shaking drinks, right? That's what you do with that. Some water bottles and stuff. So I'm very appreciative. Some pins, very appreciative. And you can look forward to an interview with Joe very soon, either in a spotlight or an After Dark episode or something focused on mental health.
And I'm gonna butt in, Courty, for a second to add on to what you were saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, we are gonna do a bit more in the After Dark about this, but I'm gonna butt in. If you are experiencing issues with mental health and are looking for resources that can help, you can visit their website at guardiansmh.org.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a problem to seek help. 1 in 4 people are experiencing issues with mental health. 1 in 20 are considered serious. So if you need that help, go out and seek those resources.
Yeah, and if you think that if you're not a Destiny player, they will still help you, and even if you don't want them, they will refer you to someone like Geek Therapeutics, who is also there, and we've had them on the show before. And so, there's a lot of ways to get help, but I just wanted to shout out Guardians Mental Health because they really were a great team.
As we get closer to Mental Health Awareness Month, we're going to highlight some of the resources that are available, especially in the gaming community, between After Dark and on bossrush.net. So
yeah.
All right. Courty, what is one highlight or a moment you experienced at PAX?
Okay, so at PAX, I really liked meeting like all the creators. Like, there were so many people that like you were able to like take the chance to like pick people's brains and like talk to people. Like, I think I talked to a few people, CG Danny B, and then y'all
cool.
He is so cool.
actually,
Yeah.
we have to throw you under the bus slightly with this one.
Why?
So day one, we just they all now know what's happening.
Oh gosh.
He walks into the press room, and all of a sudden, Courty looks up and goes, "I know you."
It was like an internal fangirl, but then I was like, is this the person that I'm going to fangirl about?
It only stayed internal until you definitely went, "I know you."
Yes. Yeah. And then he was like, yeah, I'm that guy. And then spills my coffee. That was so great. I will keep that shirt stained for just a little bit longer.
He was He was really cool.
He was so cool.
And he was kind of nervous and anxious. He's like, my anxiety's kind of hiding up. But he
Yeah.
was really cool just meeting him.
He
Yeah.
really is.
He's super nice because I ran into him on the floor a few times and he'd like stop and be like, "Hey, how's it
Yeah.
going?"
I ran into him earlier today, and like you could tell. I mean, obviously we've been doing this for 3 days straight, right? And
Yeah.
Yes.
we were just both standing there and like looked at each other. I'm like, man, putting that performance face on is really hard today, isn't it? He's like, you have no idea.
Yeah. And tomorrow he has a panel.
Yeah, I know.
And so he's going to have to be there even longer and try to like
Yeah,
not zone out into internal darkness in front of a whole entire audience,
yeah.
which is wild. Yeah. And then y'all introduced me to Aces.
Asa.
Asa, yeah.
Asa Green River. Yeah. He was really cool to interview and talk to. Oh, and then I accidentally ran into Bob Wolf. He's part of the Nintendo podcast that's in like Australia with Beat 'em Up Woods or Woods Beat 'em Up. Wood. He does a bunch of like Nintendo game reviews. He's like one of the first guys that reviewed like the Nintendo Switch and
Oh,
stuff.
cool.
It was super cool. I like looked at him and I was like, I'm just gonna hope for the best that this is the guy I think I'm talking to. And then at the end of it, I was like, that was exactly the guy I was talking to. That is awesome. Yeah. I think those two were like, I think those were like my favorite highlights. Outside of PAX though, my favorite thing is the Uber car with the iPad.
Oh my god.
That was the best thing known to mankind, and I hope that every Uber has it. It's like the iPad was like in the back of the seat, and it's like, oh, would you like to play a game? It's free. I was like, okay, cool. You're playing the games, and then there's like a little ad, and it's like, want to get to know your driver? Ask him questions. And I was like, bet. Give me like what's his sheet, and it like tells you like all his stuff. I didn't read the little words, and I asked him where he was from, and it was in the little box where he was from. And thank you, Ed, for pointing that out. that was great. Yeah, I do think he does need to remove it though, because he was only one-wording us. I asked him like, oh, what kind of sports do you like? He's like, oh, sports. I was like, okay. What kind of outdoor activities do you like? Any? I'm like, come on, don't put this if you're not gonna, tell me what exactly.
Yeah.
Something fun, spice it up. Yeah.
Well, for me, it's talking to Inky Dreams. They were
Yeah.
developers in the Polish area and for Poland games, and just picking his brain. So his game is Kamikaze Last Plane. It's a visual novel action shmup, and he said in order to have a certain composer help him with the game, they had to have waifus in it. And I seen it and I was just like, oh my goodness! But it's so arcade perfect and it feels so good. It's coming to Switch and Steam. They're gonna do a simultaneous release. Japan is getting a physical, and he's hoping to do Europe and America later on. His game was just phenomenal. But what made it even special was actually just talking to me. I didn't even plan on, interviewing or anything, but we literally got to talking about gaming in Poland, and how he grew up. Like video games wasn't too popular like Nintendo, but he grew up on the Sega Master System. And when he said that, I my eyes got brighter and I got happier, because it made it more interesting. Because I told him, I'm gonna, me down the line with Sega Master System. I told him my brother grew up on Sega Master System, so that's how my history came to it. And we got to talking about arcades and finding out that here in America we call, we have arcades, but in Poland their arcade is called a saloon. And when we think of saloon, we think of a bar.
Yeah.
But and it was just so good. And he's been in the gaming industry for 10 years. He may help make some other games. And like right now, Kamikaze Last Plane is his first game. And his wife is here. And he's the co-owner and CEO of the company, and I was just like, I cannot wait for you to release this game, and I do want to have him on the spotlight or 1v1 or whatever we want to call it. And I told him I was just like, I'm gonna go by your time. I know we in a different time zone, but whatever free time you have, I would take a day off. If it's 4 o'clock a.m. in the morning, I would set up and get ready to talk to you because I just found him very fascinating and learning about his gaming history. It was so good to talk to him. We literally talked about for 25 minutes, and I didn't want to take his time away from what he was there to do, but he was just so happy and just letting me know that the feedback that he got from a lot of gamers was making him happy that they're on the right track of doing something. So I'm looking forward to his game. I'm looking, hopefully, even if I don't get to talk to him this year, I hope I make it to PAX East 2025, and that he comes back because he was an amazing person to just discuss games. And I'm just like, man, I wish I could just talk more Sega with you, just the Master System, because not to knock Nintendo or anything, but like the Sega history is from the Master System is not there. Me and Courty, we got a good Sega history. Um, but just like the Master System, I wish more people knew about. And to hear him talk about it, I was just like, man, did you play Black Belt? Or like, what games did you play? Like,
Yes, classics like Black Belt and Enduro Racer and Alex Kidd.
and My Hero and Ghost House and stuff like that. Just I really wanted to have that talk with him, and so he was really really good. Um, but before we go, um, anything else anybody has to say? I know for me, Massive Damage, who's making Farah, I got to talk to the art director, and he is so great. He mentioned he was inspired by Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger. The moment he said those two games, I was just like, I want you to be my husband. I mean, he's already super hot and everything.
Oh
like,
my
that's
God.
like- but he was so great to talk about, and um, he's doing trying to he's making this game from Steam, and he's hoping to get on PlayStation and Xbox. And I outright told him, because I talked to him about the Valve and stuff. I told him Series X needs your game because it's so beautiful, it's so animated and colorful.
Gorgeous. 'Cause I
Oh,
played it today.
yeah, the banner that shows all the characters, that was his artwork, and I was talking to the just one of the reps, and she was just like, "Oh, he's here. You want to go talk to him?" I was like, "Yes." We literally stood there and talked about art and the previous work that he did. He gave me some cards for some stuff that he created. He mentioned the train body slam from Final Fantasy 6, and I got the card, and then he has a gif of it on his phone,
That's
on his
awesome.
page, and he showed me. I fell out laughing. I was just like, I was just like, I'm here with you and everything.
Right.
He was amazing, and I'm just like, I wish I could just talk to you more about art. Just sit down and talk about art styles and what inspired him to draw and do this. Like his work was amazing. That was the one thing that I talked to a lot of developers is that everybody's art style is distinct and has they look and flavor to it. There was a game called Cricket at PM Studios. The guy there, who's the co-owner, who helped design the game, he got this like Walt Disney 2000 cartoon look, and it's just so beautiful. I'm like, oh my goodness, it looks so good. That's what I really love about definitely about PAX East is that seeing these indie games and their art styles and where like what they're designing is just like, man. That's why I said earlier that in 2024, if these games come out, indie's gonna be making a big splash,
Absolutely.
like
Nice.
a very big splash.
Nice.
And hopefully all of them come to Nintendo and get a physical.
Yeah.
That was the big thing that I asked them.
Yeah. I Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and one thing that I discovered hiding in the corner of the floor is it's a little section. I believe it was called Unpub, and it's unpublished board and card games. And they actually had the creators there demoing their yet to be released games
Oh wow.
for live playtesters throughout the weekend. So I popped by a couple times to try out some things. Just there was one where it was not quite Texas Hold'em, but it was very inspired by Texas Hold'em. Turns out I can bluff better than I thought I could. And, but it was just to me fascinating because here's these creators putting themselves out there with their unfinished games and, just saying, can I tell you about my game? And you're like, yeah. Same with the video ones, but these are, it was just really cool that I didn't know that something like that existed. And there was that opportunity for those people, and it was so fun to see their stuff, and even in raw forms.
Yeah, and it's cool to see that kind of stuff because like PAX has its own board game convention called PAX Unplugged every November, and it's usually in the DC area or Philadelphia. I don't know if it switches spots or they move it, whatever. But it's cool that they are still coming to the gaming side, like the video gaming convention, and that they're just allowed to like show, like you said, show off their games. And there's so many different types of board games. Like I don't know anything about board games, right? I think that the most complicated board games I ever played was Settlers of Catan. It's not even difficult. But seeing like people like being really into their board game, like everybody I was just watching people watching, and they were really into one board game, but really into it, like, and like, they were buying, cards. If it was a card game, they were buying dice, they were buying figures, they were buying paint, they were buying all kinds of things for like miniatures. And just I'm fascinated by the board game world. I am not smart enough to get into card games or board games. I've tried and I just can't. My brain cannot process, especially card games, right? Like
it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
That and tabletop, like over at Free League, Vastin, it's actually one where we have people here at Boschers actually play testing for them. I mean, it's been out for a bit, and they've got like 5 expansion books, and I'm like, my poor wallet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a game master's map, dice. I was like,
Yeah.
But that is what PAX is all about. It's just these different games and people who love them all come together. I was talking to me and Courty was talking to Asa Greenweaver that you guys would be able to hear from. I mentioned it to him. That's why we needed PAX, because and this being my first time, you get to see all different types of people around the world, just here in this, or just in the States, be themselves, not having to worry, and everybody feeling accepted. And there's no judgment. And I'm just like, this is kind of what we need in the world. Not gonna make anything political or anything like that, but I'm like, this PAX, just the people who are here, the attendees, the devs, the PR people, the content creators. I'm like, this represents what gaming is about. And what we love about it, and it's just there's different stuff for everybody. And even if something's not your type, you could go up there, get a try, and get informed and educated. And I love that. I love the fact that the mental health being there to let people know that you're going to be okay, and we can help you. Like, who would have thought something like that would be at a gaming convention?
Did you guys see? Because I've seen him off and on all weekend. There's a guy walking around with a giant sign that says, "Your cosplay looks great, and so do you."
Yeah.
Because for some people that are coming to these cons, they've never put themselves out there with a cosplay before, and so just to see a guy walking around with that sign all weekend.
Yeah.
I went out of my way to tell people that their cosplay looked cool. Like I don't usually do that because we're all extreme introverts and I don't like talking to people that I don't know. But I really try to go out of my way because there were some great cosplays there, and there were great ideas for cosplay there that you could tell people worked really hard on their cosplay, even if it didn't look perfect, or maybe they didn't have enough money to fund this cosplay they were doing, but it was still like a great idea, right?
ran into a guy. He's been working on his since last PAX.
Yeah.
For this PAX.
Or that
The
that
Bowser.
Bowser we saw that they
Yeah.
worked on for 5
5
months.
months.
Or the Yuna and Lulu Final Fantasy X ones that I
I
saw.
wanted to see that.
I mean,
Lulu one.
yeah, there were so many cloud stripes there. There was a really good one on Friday of Cloud in the dress from that scene in that game, and it was really good. I like wanted a picture with it, but I was like, I don't know. I was in line for a game, and I'm like, it's not worth jumping on a line to go do that. But that would have been a really cool, fun, funny picture to post online. But yeah, there's just so many creative things, and plus they're like Baldur's Gate. Did you see the Baldur's Gate squid person cosplay? That was cosplay.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that Mind Flare.
Steph would like to make that important distinction.
Yeah. Well, they had like a statue, but then they had like the cosplay of him.
Yeah, it was cool. So yeah, shout out to the cosplayers.
Yeah.
Well,
Especially being that one.
yeah. The last thing I want to point out too is like all the creators that we met, like small and large, you know, Matt Stormageddon, you know, they are Danomac's friend of the show, and his I don't know if it's his partner or his co-host. I think his name's Jacob. I couldn't hear because it was so loud, but I met him, and they were really nice, and I recognized them from YouTube. Like, you know, I had no idea they were Danomac's friend, and you know, we saw Roger and Danomac, and we met Level 1 Gaming, and
So cool.
yeah, and you know, we just met so many cool people, and even smaller creators like a bunch of people that knew, like Grayson knew, that would come in, right? Like Nola, the Nola Nerdcast, right? I never heard of them. I met Finn, who's their, I think he's their main host. He was very nice. There was a freelance writer named Lewis who I met. He was really nice.
Cam Hawkins.
Yeah, Cam was
Shout
there.
out to him.
Yeah, man, Cam's come a long way. I gotta shout out to Cam. You know,
Yes.
PR for Apogee now. Kudos to him for making his way up that tree. He's put in that work for that.
Yeah.
So did he ever publish that Kingdom Hearts book he was
He
writing?
said next year.
Next year? Great.
Yeah. And I told him, like,
I don't know if that's public, sorry.
I
I mean that
he spoke about it.
Okay.
And I told him, I was just like, the moment you put up the pre-order, I'm already ready to pre-order.
Is he still collabing with Alexa Ray on that, or is that just him? Is it just him?
I think he still is.
Okay.
That part I don't know yet.
Because I know Alexa Ray works for Activision now. She was at Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
She was at What's Good Games, which is like, if you don't know, a major women's run podcast and podcast network, which is great. You know, Brittany Brombacher, who we are mutuals with, Pat is too. You know, Andrea Renee and what, Rihanna, that's her name, Pena's wife. I forget. It starts with an R. I'm sorry. I forget. But they're great. They've always been great, and you know, she went to Nintendo, and you know, I heard that they were collaborating years ago. Like, I think Cam was on Kind of Funny Games Daily at one point, and they were talking about it.
Yeah.
And that was years ago. So I'm proud of Cam. He's worked really hard. I know we don't talk as much as I would like.
Yeah.
And you know, all the creators and people who have worked hard to get where they are. Shout out to Atari too. David Lowy was awesome.
Yes, he was amazing. And, guys, watch that interview. Hear me kind of like get hype and get excited because Roller Coaster Tycoon came up, and I'm just like,
man, I nothing could have bothered me when I was talking to him about Atari and Roller Coaster Tycoon. Nothing. Like, you could have blown up the building and I would have still been standing there talking to him.
Yeah.
So
I cannot believe that's 25.
I know. I felt cool talking to him about Atari until I realized we were talking about the Atari 50 collection, and that my first Atari games were like Kaboom and Missile Command, and the bad version of Pac-Man, and then I was like, man, that Atari 5200 is like 40 years old. I feel really old right now. And then Roller Coaster Tycoon, 25 years. We talked a lot about that and the future of that. They just made some sort of announcement today, I think. Chris Sawyer made some sort of Roller Coaster Tycoon announcement. I forget what it was. I think Classic is coming to new platforms or something.
Okay.
My best life. What was that?
Yeah, I know. I want that. I want Classic on Switch so bad. But
Yes.
Maybe Switch 2.
Apogee was nice, which I talked about in a previous segment. I'm running through the list in my head and talking out loud. So
I mean, there's
Courty.
so many people. We will be here all night.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we still have day 4 to tackle.
Yeah. Yeah. Courty, you have any?
No, everything was great. I got to interview
My-
a lot of people today, which
My-
was really cool.
My favorite part was when Courty let me on her cool TikTok video that she was making in the middle of the show floor.
I was just standing there waiting for people to look and like interview, and then I bump into Corey. I was like, "Hey, got a minute?" I'm just standing here. Kept doing this like little dance, like, "Who wants an interview?" And I had a few people stop, but that's it.
I mean, a few's better than none.
Yeah, I had Bowser.
Yeah.
Oh, and Dr. Disrespect. That was cool.
The
The cosplay.
yeah.
Oh,
I was gonna say.
oof.
I saw it and I just yelled at him. There will be bloopers, and I'm yelling at half these people. I'm like, Mario, disrespect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, that's going to be it for this section. Go to bossrush.net to tune in for more content, our articles, our coverage at PAX East. We all had so much fun. I gotta congratulate the whole team. Really coming together and working hard, getting articles out, the interviews, and talking to the devs and playing their games. It's not easy doing all of this by yourself. So team,
It's not easy doing it with a team of 7 or 8 like we had in it. I mean,
Yeah.
the last thing, I didn't say this on the previous segment because it was just the podcast team, but and I told David this at dinner tonight, or last night, but it really felt like we've finally found the area where we can mix the two.
Yeah.
yes.
Two sides of this thing that we're building here, and it felt great to let Mary Hellen interview Jacob, and it felt really good to do TikToks with Courty, and it felt really good for me to write a little bit at least for articles that have gone out, and because you and I are on camera all the time, Ed. You know how it goes, and I want everybody to be involved in this side of things at some point. And Mary Helen, we're gonna do, like we said earlier, after dark mental health episodes, which I think will be very important, hopefully. And so yeah, I'm very proud of everybody. David is an incredible leader, and we honestly, we wouldn't be here without his leadership either. So and we won't be seeing him tomorrow, unfortunately, but still want to make sure David gets his credit too,
Yeah,
because
it was
he's
so cool, like sitting and actually talking to him, and then it's cool to like have a verbal and like stare at the person instead of over text, because then you can just spit out brain ideas, and then like you're both going back and forth and trying to figure out like,
yeah.
and that's just
And-
all David.
It's probably like the amount of times this weekend I've either gone a version of David or last week.
Yeah.
And like,
And for me personally, like I feel like David and I got a better understanding of how we each operate individually,
Yeah.
and that helped us understand how we can work together to do all this stuff. And so I felt really proud that we all got to be a part of everything. So at least in one fashion or another.
But with that, everybody, we will see you next time on Boss Rush Podcast. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
so yeah.
Peace.